Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy Edit. Today's video, we're going to be doing a wide receiver zero mock draft on fantasypros.com. Inside of this video, I'm going to be talking about the wide receiver zero strategy. It's basically like what I did in 2 days ago's video, where I did a running back zero mock draft and discussed it. This time, it is going to be wide receiver zero. So, what is wide receiver zero? It's very similar to running back zero, where you are going to go ahead in the first 5 to 6 rounds of your draft, not draft a single wide receiver, and then after that, basically your whole goal of the draft is to just keep on hammering the high upside wide receiver picks. Now, this strategy, in my opinion, is much better than a running back zero strategy. Now, going into a draft in fantasy football, I highly advise that you don't go in with one given strategy. You don't go into the draft thinking, hey, I want to do running back zero, hey, I want to do wide receiver zero, and you just let the draft play out. But in this video, we're going to be doing a full wide receiver zero strategy. So let me know down below in the comment section, have you guys done wide receiver zero before? Have you liked it, or do you feel like just drafting normally, kind of how I advise to just let the draft come to you, and then maybe you ended up doing wide receiver zero? So let me know down below if you've done it before and if you end up enjoying it. And if you did not end up understanding my explanation, I'm sure it will be much more obvious how this actually is going to work as you watch the video. So if you guys do end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content basically every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. Now, I do apologize that I look burnt. I got so sunburnt the other day. That's why there was no video yesterday. I literally could not get out of my bed. I had to wheel myself over here in my chair and hop onto the computer. My left leg hurts so bad because of the sunburn, but it is what it is. We got to work through the pain and upload a fucking YouTube video. So this video, we are going to be using Yahoo's pre-draft rankings, because if I'm being completely honest with you, I think that gives us a much more accurate look as to what a actual fantasy football mock draft will be, instead of drafting up against the experts, because I think that definitely skews it. Last time when we did the running back zero video, I drafted up against ESPN's pre-draft rankings, so this time we'll do Yahoo, and next time I do a draft that's not up against real people, I'll be doing it up against NFL.com pre-draft rankings. So again, a 12-team PPR mock draft, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. Now, with the wide receiver zero strategy, unlike with the running back zero strategy, I think you can literally do it from all over the draft. It's basically can be done anywhere, so any single draft spot I think is fine. Again, I have talked about this in a lot of videos. I prefer to be picking at the end of drafts in the first round. I like getting that 1-2 punch off early, where I can snag 2 early running backs, or maybe an elite running back or an elite wide receiver. But again, in this video, we're not going to be drafting any wide receivers for the first 5 or 6 rounds, but I will be discussing maybe in the 3rd, 4th round the wide receivers that I may have taken instead of drafting a quarterback or a tight end, because that is inevitably going to happen when you are doing a zero wide receiver draft. So the draft begins with Christian McCaffrey, followed by Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, and Stephon Diggs. At the end of the first round is when you're really going to see people start to hype up the wide receivers, because early on, people are just going to be taking running backs. They want to play it safe. They want to get their Saquon, their Derrick Henry, their Dalvin Cook, their Christian McCaffrey, the guy who's going to be a workhorse running back, game in and game out, and I completely understand that. But at the end of the first round, people might not feel as confident in the running back still available. Some people will be worried a little bit about a guy like Aaron Jones, a guy like Austin Eckler, Cam Akers, that type of running back. Some people may be worried about that, and they may not want to draft a running back at that spot. That's why we see a lot of wide receivers come off the board. Same thing goes with tight end. At the end of the first round, early second round is typically where we're going to be seeing Travis Kelce, which is what my original perception was on it. But it appears now that in a majority of drafts I'm doing with real people, Travis Kelce actually typically falls into at least the second round and barely ever goes into the first round, which does kind of surprise me, because I feel like he is such a safe pick. But obviously here, since we can't draft a wide receiver, it is going to be running back time. Now, the question is between Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, Cam Akers, and Antonio Gibson. Now, if you tell me right now that Mr. Discount Double Check Aaron Rodgers is going to be the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, I press the draft button on Aaron Jones, and I'm running straight to the motherfucking bank because Aaron Jones is so, so good. He does score a lot of touchdowns, but he's not dependent on the touchdown. His touchdowns went down from 2020 to 2019 or from 2019 to 2020, and he was still very good in fantasy football. So I think if Rodgers returns, Aaron Jones would be the pick, and I'm going to go under the assumption that Aaron Jones does end up playing with Aaron Rodgers next year, and it's not Jordan Love, but again, it's like a 50-50 shot. If not, I probably would have elected to go with Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson, or Austin Eckler, but for me, the pick here is Aaron Jones. I do like Eckler a lot. I understand why he's ranked above Aaron Jones. This guy's pass-catching ability is insane, and if he is able to stay healthy in this offense, I think the Chargers will be a legitimate, very good team that could eventually actually make the playoffs this season. After Aaron Jones came Travis Kelce and Cam Akers, so now my pick has been made easy. Again, I can't go wide receiver right here. It would basically be a no-brainer to draft Davante Adams. But is it? Because we don't know about, Rodgers. I think Adams and Jones will be fine, but all of those kind of guys with the upside in Green Bay, those late round picks, those guys that maybe aren't necessarily screaming to be drafted early, a guy like the tight end on the team, right? Everyone last season was very happy with Robert Tonyan. They pick him up and he carries them to their championship, but will Tonyan even be draftable without Aaron Rodgers under center? I'm not sure. So Davante Adams probably would be a safe pick here, but I'm going to go with Austin Eckler. Again, I just believe this guy is going to be so heavily involved inside of this LA Chargers offense. I think he's going to be seeing so many receiving upside chances in this offense because he's so good at catching passes. I think it is entirely possible that he could see 100 targets this season. He could put up Christian McCaffrey numbers. Last year, I called him Christian McCaffrey light. Obviously, gets hurt, disappoints some people, but I think if he is able to stay healthy, he will be very, very good for fantasy football in 2021. Plus, Anthony Lynn is gone. And Anthony Lynn was kind of just grabbing your balls and fucking playing with them like a fushigi when you tried to draft Austin Eckler because he was trying to use these other guys behind him. Trust me, you don't need to do that. So hopefully the new head coach over there understands that it should be Austin Eckler season. After Eckler came Davante Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Najee Harris, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, Clyde, Edwards-Helaire, Keenan Allen, Patrick Mahomes, George Kittle, Miles Sanders, Michael Thomas, Darren Waller, DeAndre Swift, and David Montgomery. Now, in the first round, every single pick basically, aside from 3, were the running back position. But the second and third round is when you start seeing wide receivers come off the board and where you will eventually see likely a quarterback come off the board. Trying to exactly pinpoint where a quarterback is going to come off the board in your drafts is basically damn near impossible because some leagues, people are going to take quarterbacks in the first round. In other leagues, people will wait until the third, fourth round for the first quarterback to come off the board. So that is something I really don't try to dive super deep into where to draft a quarterback because every league is going to be different. Personally, if I'm taking Patrick Mahomes, I'm waiting until the fourth round. But again, in a majority of leagues, he is not going to fall that way because someone's inevitably going to pull the trigger on the Madden cover boy yet again, Patrick Mahomes. So we are back up on the board here. We got our 2 workhorse running backs. Do we dive back into the running back well? Now, if Waller or Kittle were available right now and you're doing the 0 wide receiver strategy, to me, that would be a no-brainer. Because you already have your 2 workhorse running backs, you have your 2 guys, and now you can add a tight end that is going to just be locked and loaded in your roster every single week. They are healthy or they are not on a bye. But now, obviously, those guys are gone, and I just don't feel like drafting a guy like Hawkinson, Andrews, right that close to Kittle and Waller. I just feel like you are really reaching at the tight end position if you do that. Maybe in the 4th round, I would consider Hawkinson because I feel like he is just going to be such a target monster in this Detroit Lions offense because, frankly, they have no one else to throw the fucking ball to. But I don't think I could pull the trigger here in the 3rd round. So we are going to go running back again because we can't go wide receiver yet. So it's between Chris Carson and J.K. Dobbins. Now here, you want to go ahead and determine if you want to be safe or you're trying to be a little bit risky because a lot of people seem to be spitting a lot of negative energy towards Mr. Just Kidding J.K. Dobbins. A lot of people are talking about how Gus Edwards is going to be seeing such a significant workload, how J.K. Dobbins isn't really the guy, how Lamar's going to be taking away a lot of rushing opportunity. Now, my rebuttal to that notion is the fact that the Baltimore Ravens just run the ball. They run the ball so often that it won't matter if Gus Edwards is getting enough or getting some touches. It won't matter if Lamar Jackson vultures some touchdowns. I just think that J.K. Dobbins is such a great pass-catching running back that with Mark Ingram gone, that I believe J.K. Dobbins is going to be very good in fantasy football and could be a top 12 back. Now, the same argument can really be made about Chris Carson. The Seattle Seahawks like to run the ball. Now, some people are a little bit nervous about Chris Carson's injury history. Frankly, the guy is not very injury-prone. Sure, he has missed some games in the past, but at the end of the day, he is going to be a very solid running back. You get what you draft him for basically every single year. That's a very safe running back week in and week out, and no one is even contending for Chris Carson's job. Every single year, people will get on their knees and suck the absolute knob off of Rashad Penny. Everyone will talk about how it's eventually going to be Rashad Penny season, but let me tell you, just like I've told you for the last 2 years, it's never going to be Rashad Penny season. This is Chris Carson's backfield unless he was to get hurt. I like Carson, but personally, I'm going to lean the upside of J.K. Dobbins in such a good offense in Baltimore that just loves to run the ball, because eventually the Seattle Seahawks will let Russ cook. In Baltimore, they just want to run the ball. We're about 10 minutes into this video, so if you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you are new, and if you're not new, please make sure to hit that like button. It helps out a ton. So right now, basically, we have our 2 running backs, we have our flex for every single week, and right now, you would just draft a wide receiver. In any other situation where you're not waiting 5-6 rounds to draft a wide receiver, you just hammer a guy like Amari Cooper here, a guy like Julio Jones, Robert Woods. You just draft them right here, and you have such a solid team already. You got a wide receiver that can finish as a legitimate top 12, top 10 wide receiver. You have 3 running backs that you're hoping can finish inside the top 12, and even if J.K. Dobbins finishes outside of that, he's your flex every single week, and your roster is star-studded. But we're not doing that. We're not able to draft a wide receiver here because that's not what the strategy tells us to do. So we have to either draft another running back, which frankly would just be stupid. It would just be stupid. He's going to be riding our bench. While I am not opposed to necessarily drafting a running back here, I just don't think it will help us out all that much, because unless of an injury of Jones, Eckler, or J.K. Dobbins, a guy like Myles Gaskin, Kareem Hunt, Josh Jacobs, Mike Davis are not going to make the lineup. So I'd rather here either draft a quarterback, a guy like Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, or draft a tight end. Now, normally I am someone who's opposed to drafting a quarterback early, but in this kind of scenario, it is very welcome to do something like that, because a guy like Josh Allen is very helpful to your team. But what really is the difference between Josh Allen and a guy like Justin Herbert who you can get 5 rounds later? That's really the question. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wait on quarterback, and I'm going to end up going tight end. I talked about TJ Hawkinson a little bit earlier. This Detroit Lions team should be complete and utter dog shit, where they're going to have to be throwing the ball late in the game. Their other wide receiver, just the wide receiver core in general there, is completely and utterly decimated by the fact that Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay are gone. I think that TJ Hawkinson is going to be real good this year, strictly just based on the fact that he should be getting so many targets game in and game out. His rookie season in 2019, he did have some flashes, but in 2020, he really put it all together like some fucking Legos, and I believe that TJ Hawkinson is going to have, well, he broke out last year, he's going to have a breakout in 2021 in his junior season in the NFL. The only thing stopping him is if Jared Goff is completely and utterly awful without Sean McVay. That is definitely a narrative you can talk about, but even so, he should be getting so many targets that it won't even matter. After I drafted TJ Hawkinson, Chris Godwin came out the board, followed by Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Josh Allen, Julio Jones, Myles Gaskin, Josh Jacobs, DJ Moore, Chase Edmonds, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett, Mike Davis, Brandon Ayuk, Kenny Golladay, Odell Beckham Jr., Kareem Hunt, and Dak Prescott. So we've made it into the 5th round. So technically right now, we can go ahead and draft a wide receiver. But again, I'm going to try to take it as deep as possible, like my name is Riley Reed. So we're going to go ahead and continue to draft someone that is not a wide receiver, and we're going to go ahead and get a quarterback at this pick. While I make fun of the fact that Kyler Murray looks like he can't see over the offensive line, frankly, this Arizona offense is so good. He, just like with Lamar Jackson, just like with Josh Allen, are going to be able to run the ball effectively for an offense that is going to give you additional fantasy football points, because you only have to run the ball 10 yards to get 1 point, but in most leagues you have to pass the ball 25 yards to get 1 point, so that gives a big bonus to the quarterbacks that can rush the ball. Now again, I'm not some type of person who is against drafting a quarterback that can't run the ball, because this just in, they can still be very good as well. Aaron Rodgers, that guy basically is a fucking statue. You're never going to see him bust a move out there and put some guy in a spin cycle, but he's still going to put up big numbers in fantasy football like he did last year, if obviously he stays in Green Bay. Basically, he'll probably put up big numbers anywhere, as long as he's not putting up those numbers on Jeopardy. I do think Kyler Murray should be very good, though. He was a guy I was targeting a lot in drafts last year. Now, normally, if this is my draft, I'm not drafting Kyler Murray here. Again, I'm waiting for Justin Herbert. I'm waiting for a guy like Ryan Tannehill, Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, guys that I can get later that I feel like have similar upside, but that's not how we're doing this draft. I am going to be drafting a quarterback here inside of the 5th round, and we're going to be getting Kyler Murray again. I think Cliff Kingsbury and this offense should be very good, with a pretty strong defense that opens up even more chances for Kyler to rush the ball later in the game. I like Kyler Murray, the short king, a lot. So after I went ahead and drafted Kyler Murray, the computer after me went ahead and selected Titty Boy T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Now, we are in the 6th round, so here we're going to break loose of the wide receiver zero strategy and actually draft a wide receiver. Because if you wait any longer, frankly, your wide receiver core is just dart throws. Right here, I think it's a lot of a dart throw to draft any of these guys, but I at least feel pretty confident in some of them, where some of these other guys I'm not ultra confident in as we get later in the draft. And I guess the one upside of this kind of draft strategy is that we have such a solid running back core that our tight end, basically, unless TJ Hockenson was to get hurt, he's locked and loaded in your lineup all year. Same thing goes with Kyler Murray, so you don't have to draft 2 quarterbacks, you don't have to draft 2 tight ends, which a lot of people do. If you are going to draft a quarterback or tight end early, please, I beg you, do not draft a backup quarterback or tight end, because as long as those guys don't get hurt, there's no fucking reason for them to, the other backup guy that you draft, to ever be in your lineup. It's just wasting a spot that you can put on a high upside running back or wide receiver. So here, I'm going to get our first wide receiver of the draft. I don't like Mr. Corvette, Juju Smith-Schuster, if I'm being honest with you. I think at this point in Pittsburgh, this is just not where he needs to be. If he went to the Chiefs, like a lot of the rumors were saying, then he would be pretty solid in fantasy football this year. But in Pittsburgh, with the fact that I think they're going to try to rush the ball a lot more, I'm really worried about Juju Smith-Schuster. So I'm going to go with Courtland Sutton. I understand he missed last season, basically did nothing because he only played in 1 game and ended up getting hurt. Obviously, there is discussion to be had whether it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater or Horsecock Drew Lock, but frankly, regardless of who it is, I think Courtland Sutton and this wide receiver core are going to be dirty, naughty this season and really show what they could have been last year. With Sutton healthy, I love Sutton. His stats in 2019 were crazy, and basically, when he was actually put into a role to really be a guy in the offense, he had 72 receptions, 124 targets, over 1,000 receiving yards, 1,112. He had 6 touchdowns. He was the top 20 wide receiver in fantasy football. I just see that upside again here, even in Denver with an unknown quarterback situation. So after we went ahead and got our first wide receiver, Melvin Gordon came off the board, followed by Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, Robbie Anderson, Tyler Higbee, Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Jalen Hurts, Trey Sermon, Will Fuller, Travis Etienne, Deebo Samuel, DJ Chark, Wiki, Brandon Cooks, Aaron Rodgers, and Mr. Raheem Mostert. Now it is our turn. So with how this draft went, we're just going to continue to hammer on the wide receiver position, likely with our next 2 picks. So looking at wide receivers still available, we got Tyler, Boyd, Jerry Jeudy, Jarvis Landry, Curtis Samuel, Corey Davis, Devontae Parker, Devontae Smith, Laviska Shenault. Here, I still like Tyler Boyd. I think that his role is basically safe in this offense, even with Jamar Chase there being the fact that he is the slot receiver in this offense with Joe Burrow. Him and Tyler Boyd have a very solid connection. I do think that he's going to be a relatively safe pick this year, and if this Bengals offense is firing at all cylinders like it could be, Tyler Boyd could be dangerous and honestly finish as a top 24 wide receiver, which is something I'm pretty sure he has done in the past. Yeah, wide receiver 17, 18, last year 29th, but again, that was with Joe Burrow injured. So I'm not really all that worried with Tyler Boyd. So we're going to go ahead and pick him here at this pick after we went ahead and drafted Tyler Boyd. Damian Harris came off the board, followed by Leonard Fournette. Now, Damian Harris is a great pick in the 7th round. That's a guy that is going to probably be the lead back in New England, and with the defense actually looking much, much better because they're going to be healthy, they're going to have these new pieces, I think that Damian Harris is definitely worth the 7th round pick. They're going to be running the ball a lot. As you know, in New England, they love to run the ball, so Damian Harris is a guy that I'd be heavily targeting, but again, we just need to draft these high upside wide receivers. Now, if I didn't already draft Cortland Sutton, this pick would be easy, and it would be Jerry Jeudy. Now, I like Jarvis Landry as a super safe pick, but where we're at, I'm not trying to really be super safe because we need to get some high upside wide receivers, so I'm going to reach a little bit, and I'm going to take a guy that I heavily believe in, and that is Devontae Smith, the Slim Reaper, wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles. I like Devontae Smith. It probably is going to end up being a reach at this pick, but I want to get a guy that I think is going to be a wide receiver 1 in an offense. Now, again, the Eagles' offense may end up being completely shit if Jalen Hurts shits the bed and doesn't end up playing good, but again, he is a wide receiver 1 in an offense, and I think that counts for something. I know I'm definitely going to get comments that, Nick, that was a reach. It's okay. It is what it is. When you're hunting for upside like this, you got to make sure you get a guy that you are really confident in, and it did not tell me on Fantasy Pros that was a reach, so I guess I didn't reach too hard. After Devontae Smith came Curtis Samuel, James Robinson, Ronald Jones, Jerry Jeudy, Hollywood Brown, Javonte Williams, Jarvis Landry, A.J. Dillon, Devontae Parker, Michael Carter, Zach Moss, Michael Gallup, Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, Corey Davis, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, Antonio Brown, Darrell Henderson, and Cole Beasley. So now we are up at the 9.11. And we're probably just going to draft another wide receiver because we need to get some more depth at the wide receiver position here. And we're going to just continue to hunt for upside. I think a high upside pick here would be Darnell. Here comes the money. Money, 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 money. Because Darnell Mooney last year had so much opportunity to be great. But frankly, the fact that Nick Foles and the Nickelodeon MVP Mitchell Trubisky have no idea how to throw the pigskin, Darnell Mooney ends up missing all of these wide open catches. But in reality, he didn't miss them, right? Because they were not even in the stratosphere of Darnell Mooney. They went over the moon into Jupiter, directly up Uranus if you tried to draft Darnell Mooney, because he did not do anything because the quarterbacks couldn't throw him the ball. Hopefully, Justin Fields will be able to throw the ball to Darnell Mooney, and I believe he will. So to me, that is an excellent pick there in the 9th round, and we're probably going to draft another wide receiver here. After Mooney came the Los Angeles Rams and Jamison Crowder. Now, don't be that person that drafts a defense early. You want to go ahead and wait on defense till later, and then draft a defense playing a shitty offense week 1. You take them off your roster week 2 if they have a bad matchup. You basically just watch my videos because I post a video every single week, which defenses to stream before your waiver wire, and you just add them. It's very easy, and then every week you're just cycling them in and out I don't even know, like In-N-Out Burger. So we're back up on the board here, and we're probably going to draft a wide receiver again here. Now, this is the point where it gets down tremendous. But there is an easy pick here in the 10th round, and that's Atlanta wide receiver Russell Gage. Now, I've talked about this guy so much on my channel that I won't even give a complete explanation into this, but it's clear. The Atlanta Falcons lose Julio Jones. Russell Gage is the clear wide receiver 2 in this offense. Matt Ryan has not lost a step, really, right? He doesn't necessarily look like MVP Matt Ryan, but he also doesn't look like this guy is over the hill completely. I think he's still going to be good. I think the Atlanta offense should be good, and if the defense is bad, they're going to have to throw late in the game to Russell Gage. I like Gage a lot. I think he's a talented wide receiver, has put up numbers in the past, especially last year with Julio Jones out when he was injured, so I think Russell Gage is the clear wide receiver 2 in this offense, with a lot of upside, definitely, considering Julio Jones is, like I said, gone. So after we went ahead and drafted Russell Gage, David Johnson came off the board, followed by James Conner, Tony Pollard, Gus Bus Edwards, Jalen Reagor, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Kenyon Drake, Devin Singletary, Naheem Hines, Washington Football Team, John Brown, Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, Latavius Murray, Ryan Tannehill, Noah Fant, Logan Thomas, Jalen Waddle, T.Y. Hilton, and Robert Tonyan. So we're going to go ahead here and draft some running backs now. We've waited so late that now we're just going to hop on the high upside guys because we already have our starting running backs. Now with the talk in Detroit about how DeAndre Swift is not necessarily going to be the guy. It's a 1A, 1B situation. I still think Swift can be good, but if Swift was to go down, I think Jamal Williams is one of the better handcuffs in fantasy football. He has shown throughout his career in Green Bay that he could be a starting caliber running back in the NFL. Again, he's not amazing, but if Detroit is willing to give him these touches, he should be solid. The biggest downside, though, is the fact that Detroit is going to suck complete and utter ass and going to have to throw the ball late in the game. So let's just hope Jamal Williams can catch the ball, which I know he can. So we're going to go ahead and draft Jamal Williams at this pick inside of the 11th round. And then we're probably going to go ahead and draft a running back again, and then probably draft one more wide receiver before we draft our defense and our kicker. Again, I like these late round tight ends, guys like Irv Smith, Gesicki, a guy like even Gronk, but we already have our tight ends. We don't really need to be talking about that. Another high upside running back I like later in the draft is going to end up being James White or J.D. McKissic. I think McKissic carved out a decent role last year inside of this offense when Antonio Gibson was down. And when Antonio Gibson was healthy, he was still getting a lot of receiving opportunity inside of this offense. And with the offense likely being better than it was in 2021, now with stability at the quarterback position, I think McKissic could be good. White honestly didn't have that great of a season last year, but after what happened with his family members, I honestly think that severely impacted him. I hope that James White is okay, if I'm being honest with you, but I think that he may actually have a better season this year. Now, again, it definitely is a high upside shot, but I'm willing to take it this late in the draft. That James White could be good. And again, if he ends up sucking, it doesn't really matter because I already have those running backs and those wide receivers, so it's okay. So now we're going to go ahead and draft our final, or we don't really need to talk about wide receivers when we're talking about a running back. So I already have these high upside running backs on my team that I feel confident in. So we're going to go wide receiver here, and we're going to draft Mr. Gabe. Ooh, I like Gabe Davis, but I feel like he's kind of cucked a little bit in this offense with Cole Beasley there. I think Ruggs is definitely a high upside shot, so I'm going to end up taking him. Now, I don't even necessarily believe in Henry Ruggs, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know why they drafted him as high as they did last year's draft, but it is what it is. I think he is an upside shot that his quickness does end up working at the NFL level. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the board after drafting Henry Ruggs. Mark Ingram came off the board, followed by Nelson Aguilar, and now it is our pick yet again. So we're going to go ahead and draft our kicker and our defense. I'm going to move myself up top so you guys can see the board better. I apologize. Kicker, we're going to just go with the best one off the board, Justin Tucker. As of right now, I will be making a kicker rankings video as well later on in the offseason so you know what kicker to draft. And then for defenses, again, you're just going to draft a defense playing a shitty offense week one, whoever that ends up being. Right now, I don't know off the top of my head who the Bills are playing. I like the Bills a lot. Let's see, week one, who are they playing? I think it's the Dolphins, maybe? No, it's Pittsburgh. That's a tough matchup. We're just going to draft them, though, because I don't feel like talking for 20 minutes about that. But, yeah, that's a good defense. So we got a C on this. Again, I don't really give a fuck about what the consensus grade is. I think doing the zero wide receiver strategy is not necessarily ideal, but I do think that we did it justice in this video. So if you did end up enjoying, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We got Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, Cortland Sutton, Tyler Boyd, TJ Hawkinson, J.K. Dobbins, Buffalo Bills, Justin Tucker, Devontae Smith, Darnell Mooney, Russell Gage, Jamal Williams, James White, and Henry Ruggs. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Again, let me know down below in the comments section what you guys thought about this draft and if you ended up enjoying or not. I love you guys all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Goodbye.